Philadelphia is my hometown, and I've always loved Philadelphia. It occurred to me that with local ownership, there could really be a renewed commitment to excellent journalism in Philadelphia. So the lure of coming back to my hometown and the prospect of doing great journalism is what attracted me. When I came to the Inquirer, it was obvious that for the paper, not only to survive, but to thrive, the staff had to be smaller. And I knew coming in that there was going to have to be some hardship. That was a decision that was made before I arrived. At the Sun in Baltimore, the paper was highly profitable, and my feeling was there were ways to reduce costs without laying people off. In a public company, the owners have an obligation to maximize the profits for the shareholders. So that in a company like McClatchy, the management are not the owners. The owners are the shareholders. And so the management of McClatchy has an obligation to maximize profits. In a private company, one that's held by a small group, the obligation is to fulfill the mission that the owners set forth. And in this case, the demand for enormous profits is balanced against the demand and the desire to have a very good public service-oriented newspaper. That each has their advantages. In a private company like Philadelphia Media Holdings, there's not as much financial resources to draw on because the property is 2 newspapers and a website and a few other subsidiaries. In a company like Knight Ridder, there were billions of dollars of resources because they owned 30 newspapers. So there's a trade-off. My feeling was that with limited resources, we could get excellent foreign news from the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Associated Press, but we couldn't get great local news from those organizations. Trying to focus all of our staff on being the indispensable source of news for the city of Philadelphia, the suburbs in Pennsylvania, the South Jersey, and then the state of New Jersey and the city. I'd say that any story that begins in this area and has national or global implications, we'll send people all over the world to pursue that story. Or if there's someone here who is uniquely qualified to do a story with national and global implications, we'll send that person all over the country or all over the world to do it. We're just not going to be having bureaus all over the world the way we used to. Somebody by the name of John Carter, who ran the Philadelphia Port Museum, and he was indicted by a federal grand jury. He lives up in Massachusetts, and we dispatched Andy Maycooth to go see his house in Massachusetts. There's a woman in the editorial board named Carolyn Davis, and she's going to Uganda with a photographer to pursue a story. The content of the newspaper, what goes on the pages, not the advertising, is absolutely sacred, sacrosanct. We in the newsroom are the ones who determine what goes on the pages, and no advertiser is going to influence our judgment about what the stories are or what the photos are. I think, Louis, that the perception will be negated by what's in the newspaper. For instance, the Wall Street Journal, almost every day on the front page, has an ExxonMobil ad at the bottom right-hand corner. Yet the Wall Street Journal does stories that are critical and analytical about ExxonMobil. And when Citizens Bank does something good or bad, we'll report the news, and people will read it on the business page and know that there's no influence of the advertiser. Basically, I believe that we will cover the news and call it as we see it, no matter what. And if one of the owners is newsworthy, whether it's worthy of praise or criticism, we won't shy from doing that. One of the owners of the paper is Bruce Toll. He's the vice chairman of the Toll Housing Company, and stockholders raised questions about whether he and his brother were compensated too highly, and the Inquirer published stories about that right on the business page. So there's evidence. I would say that our challenges are interrelated. We need to move swiftly to embrace the internet and outpace our competition. We need to do an ever-improving job of covering the city, Pennsylvania suburbs, and Jersey. And we need to aggressively sell advertising in the paper and on the web everywhere. We're always striving to close the gap between our performance and our potential. And right now, we would like to get increased circulation not only in the Daily Inquirer, but also the Sunday Inquirer. We'd like to have our sales to advertisers in the paper and on the web be more robust. And I, for one, would like to hire the next generation of great young journalists. The hardest thing for me is learning, inspiring and leading people to adapt to all the new tools. I bought an iPod just so I would know how to use one. We need training, we need equipment, and everyone needs to embed in their consciousness that the world of multimedia is absolutely critical to our future.